Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel, and I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. This is going to be a quick video. I just wanted to put out some content. I said it in my previous video. This is definitely the quietest part of the year. Baseball is done since they didn't make the NCAA tournament. Football, spring's over. Basketball's done. As far as the actual seasons go, softball didn't make the NCAA tournament. So, there's really nothing going on. There are bits and pieces. Like Iowa basketball recently dropped some content from some of their practices, some of their training sessions. So that was good to see. It was good to see how Ben McCollum is communicating with his players and things like that. In the end, though, it's really not much because, quite frankly, there's, anytime there's cameras that are there, everybody's going to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're going to be on their best behavior. You're not going to see them doing anything that's, of concern. But it was still good to see the new guys, the new roster. It's so interesting to see how quickly a roster can turn over. Literally, the only holdover is Cooper Koch. Everybody else was brand new. And, in a lot of ways, it's basically like seeing Drake basketball, but just wearing the Iowa basketball gear, plus, the two other high-powered transfers, the Spanish kid and Hauser, the sharpshooter that transferred from Kansas State. But anyways, so that dropped, but it's a quiet part of the year. But I did want to discuss... let's see here. There was a positional ranking within the Big Ten that was dropped from Athlon Sports, and it ranked each positional unit within the Big Ten, and then it did a total ranking. Whoever had the lowest score basically had the best rated position group when it was added all up. So I'm going to review that. I thought that this was interesting. I would love to be able to compare this to the other teams. Unfortunately, I just don't have enough time to pay attention to these other programs. Oh, the ins and outs of who they have on the roster and where Iowa stacks up with them. And I don't really think I need to, because at this point I solely do analysis for Iowa. And even when I was maybe a little bit more familiar about some of the other programs and teams and the players that they had, I've always reviewed and analyzed Iowa the same exact way, which is exactly this. Reviewing the talent that they have on the roster, reviewing their positional groups, and making an analysis primarily on that, in me deciding what I think a reasonable expectation or win total should be. I do take into account the schedule a little bit, but I don't take it into account as much as other people, because I always say that your schedule, your strength of schedule, there's no way for us to know before the year starts what it's truly going to be. We can guess based off of prognostications, but that's all they are. They're nothing more than maybe an educated guess. And the schedules can really change. Recently Indiana was much better than people thought. Northwestern, in the coach that took over for Pat Fitzgerald a year or two ago, did way better than people thought they were going to do. There are surprises, both good and bad, teams who do worse than anticipated. There are teams that do better than anticipated. And then there are teams like the Ohio States, the Penn States, the Oregons that do exactly how you think they would do. So, but I think most people, though, especially when looking at Iowa, they look at, do they have Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, or Oregon on their schedule? And that is like their main thing in deciding whether they're going to be able to win, 8, 9, 10 games. And I do understand that, especially recently with Kirk Ferentz not doing as well against those schools, but still. So anyways, let's review what Athlon gave. And again, this is going to be a quick video. What I'm going to do is I am going to just give you guys my analysis of where they rank the Iowa's positional groups, not necessarily based on the other programs, but just based off of my analysis of the talent that is within the room. Okay, so there's going to be times where I say that I think it could be higher. But it really has nothing to do with the other programs of the Big Ten. It has to do more with that they have more, that I value the talent seemingly better than Athlon does. Or, if it should be lower or whatever. So let's start with the big one, quarterback. They rate that position group as 7th. Now, the thing with the quarterback position group is if you're lucky, you're really only going to need one guy. And so your one guy, all things being equal, is going to be the bulk of the actual production for that position group. Now, Iowa over the last couple of years, because of Cade McNamara's injury history, they've had to go to the bullpen a lot. And there are a lot of other programs, because they are struggling at that position. The quarterback room for modern football struggles because some of these traditional skill sets at the quarterback position has really gone out the window. So the baseline of quarterback talent has gone down. There's a lot of quarterback gurus and sports people who have discussed that. However, the athleticism, the athletic ability has gone up. And, there's a lot of people that say that nowadays people are taking the most athletic guy and turning him into a quarterback, where it used to be the guy that was like the best all-around player, and had super high football IQ and this and that, and developed him into a quarterback. Now it's like, okay, you're the most athletic guy. We're going to put you out there, and we're going to bring the offense to a place where there's not too much development. We make it streamlined and easy. And I'm not completely against that per se, but still there are people who say that. Nonetheless, that the quarterback talent across the board has gone down. So, for some schools, there's going to be a revolving door. But all things being equal, it's going to be just one guy. Okay. Now, for what it's worth, I've said this time and time again already. I have to give credit where credit is due. I think Tim Lester has absolutely improved in a very short time the quarterback room and the talent level. Now, if you take into consideration the fact that there's the transfer portal and just kind of the nature of college sports nowadays, it's not that surprising. Just look at Ben McCollum, buying a brand new basketball roster. Like it's not that wild, but still, to recruit guys of substance over other schools, that can still be difficult. So 7th is where Iowa checks in. I think that's about right. I think Gronowski could have a top 5 season if you take into account like the team's success and where he's able to bring Iowa's offense along, and how he's able to do in Tim Lester's offense, especially if he's able to stay healthy. But I think 7th is about right. Like, and quite frankly, I can't remember the last time Iowa was ranked 7th as a positional group at the quarterback position. Maybe when Nate Stanley was the quarterback. If I were to like rank Mark Gronowski by himself, maybe I would go like one spot higher, but I think 7th is about right for him too. I like the talent behind him, but it's young talent. I love, the Helinski guy that Iowa got from Wake Forest. He was a highly coveted, recruited guy. I like Hake. Oh, sorry guys, my my computer fell, or my phone fell. I like Hake Brown. I really do like the talent level that Iowa and Tim Lester has, specifically Tim Lester has been able to bring in to the. Oh, guys, I can't get this thing to stay still. Normally, I would stop recording and re-record, but I'm too deep into this video to not stop now. So I think 7th is about right. I think Iowa might be able to increase it by 1 or 2 spots, and if they're able to do that, and Mark Gronowski is able to have a singularly top 5 season as a quarterback and elevate Iowa, we all know that that's going to be a massive, huge win. And quite frankly, if he's even like top 7, that would be a marked improvement from what we've seen in the past. Next is running back. They have Iowa's group at 7th. I think that's a little low. Personally, I really like the overall depth of the room. I'm not against the 7th. It's probably about right, but I just think personally, Kamari Moulton is going to have another spectacular season for Iowa as a lead back. Maybe not as good as Caleb Johnson, but especially if you take into consideration the offensive line group, which you can't necessarily do if you're ranking this group. You're primarily ranking it based off of just the running backs, but you have 2 proven guys in Josiah Patterson and Kamari Moulton. One guy is coming into his final year. Kamari Moulton has literally had marked improvement from year to year, and physically he just looks the part now. And again, running back is one of those positions where it's either that the group as a whole was really, really good or really, really poor, or you have a lead back that carries the room. As a whole, I think it's a solid group. Again, 7th is probably about right. I'd probably have them 6th, maybe 5th. It's hard for me to imagine that there are, 6 other teams that have a better running back room collectively. There might be some rooms that have higher upside maybe as a whole, maybe a little bit more, sexiness to the talent level or skill composition. But you got Brevin Dole, who's a speedster. You got Xavier Williams. Iowa got this Braden Jackson kid who was actually preferred walk-on, and he was rated as an 88 on 247 Sports. This guy, I think, is going to be a hidden gem. He's the son of a former Iowa Hawkeye football player. And Iowa is also talking a lot about Nathan McNeil. I called my shot. I said that I like, you guys that have watched my show a lot, I called it. I said that he was going to be a hidden gem. I didn't. It's weird. Like sometimes you can just like look at a recruit and you can just tell yourself, like, I think this guy's got it, and I don't know what it was, but like I looked at his size, I looked at his weight, I looked at, just the way he looked and where he was coming from in the South, and I just thought to myself that this is going to be a hidden gem. I do think I watched a little bit of his tape. But so I think there are elements that maybe the general media is not aware of with this group. That this room as a whole is going to be solid. I think Kamari Moulton is going to be the lead guy. Obviously, I think he's going to have a 1,000-yard season. Josiah Patterson will be a nice change of pace, number 2 back. But I think the 2, 3, 4 guys will mix and match, with it mostly being Josiah Patterson, but whoever is doing better as the second back will get the bulk of the number 2 carries, and I think Iowa has enough guys to find out who that is. Wide receiver 15th. This is a group that's largely unproven, so I would probably go with like 12th or 13th. That's for me, that's largely guesswork based off of what we're hearing out of camp. But I do think that Iowa has talent in the room, and there's just so many guys now that have been there for a while, and it's about time that they break through. I think Reese Vanderzee has a super high ceiling. I think Seth Anderson could be. He has the athleticism to be an NFL wide receiver if he can stay healthy and put it together in his college football season. Jacob Gill, we'll see what he can do as an encore in year 2 in Tim Lester's offense. And then, of course, they upgraded and added Sam Phillips. Would they? And of course, they have some other pieces as well with some Z and X pieces. Caden Wetchton is phenomenally electric as well, but he needs to transfer it to the wide receiver room, which was a reason why he came back, because he was told by the Iowa coaching staff that that's what he would be involved more. So I'm okay with 15th. Personally, I think they're a few spots higher, but I understand why they're 15th. It's basically dead last, but I think a lot of people are like, okay, we'll put you here. You might be better, but we need to see you prove it first. And so I fully acknowledge that me saying they should be a few spots higher is largely because I'm an Iowa fan, and I'm just basically, doing prognostication on my end that's based off of very little actual hard stats. Offensive line 3rd, that's probably right. I think any of the top 3 you could mix and match. I think you could make a case that Iowa should be 1 or 2. I think the one thing that Iowa is missing at this point is like a bona fide first round draft pick. Jennings Dunker might become that guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Logan Jones could possibly become that guy. I'd be more surprised if it was him. I think it's probably more likely that it'd be Jennings Dunker. But it's a really phenomenal group. I'm okay with 3rd. You could make, anytime you're that high, anybody could make the case to move it around a bit. It's probably Penn State or Ohio State that have the few spots ahead. And then, of course, Iowa did get a transfer from Ferris State. We'll see how he does. But I definitely think that was a good rotational piece to add. At the very least, or at the most, he becomes a starter for Iowa to get for 1 year. Just to round this out real quick, and because I want to try and keep this video under 20 minutes, defensive line is 4th. It was a little bit higher than I expected, not because of where I see the room, but because I was a little bit surprised that others saw it that way. I mean, Aaron Graves might become a second. I think he could become a first-round draft pick, honestly. I mean, I think he is a legit guy, and we'll see if in his final year he can put it all together and just become an animal on the inside. They have depth, they have athleticism, they have size, they have experience. 4th is probably is like perfect. I don't think that they have, like I said, the top end, like upside potential as maybe some other positional groups like in Ohio State or Penn State or something like that. But if you're just looking at the pure talent, especially at the top end, they're up there with everybody. And Kelvin Bell has done a hell of a job, an unsung job at year in, year out, having that group be one of the best in the Big Ten for the defensive line. Linebacker is 8th. In the article that from 24 or Hawkeye Insider, they said they were a little bit surprised by that. I'm not surprised by 8th. I think 8th's accurate with the opportunity to move up a few spots. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. I think for now 8th is accurate, given that the Jaden Harrell and Carson Sherrard don't have hard-lined experience sitting behind Nick Jackson and Jay Higgins. But everybody knows that Seth Wallace is going to have linebackers fundamentally ready to go, and they're going to play hard. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They're going to be where they need to go. They're going to be sure-handed tacklers, so on and so on, by and large. But we just haven't seen what these guys fully can do. It is absolutely crazy in this day and age that these guys have stayed at Iowa this long. It's all hopefully going to culminate. I'm really rooting for these guys to both have great seasons. We've seen it before, time and time again, where there was the Fisher guy. His last name was Fisher. Cole Fisher. There's just countless Iowa linebackers that have waited their turn. They get their chance with 1 year left, maybe 2 years, and they do the most with it. They may not become NFL guys, but they do really well with it. Carson Sherrard, of course, was a last-second get for Iowa in the recruiting class, and he was actually considering playing Division I basketball. And last, defensive back 4th. So, and I think defensive back 4th is, I think that might be a little high, maybe based off of like the actual on the field results. I think that's probably a ranking based more on Phil Parker. But a lot of these guys have been here for a while. Deshaun Lee, Xavier Wampa, TJ Hall. So they do have experience. They do. And of course they did get a transfer to come in. I would probably see them more like maybe 5th or 6th. But you can definitely make the case for 4th. A lot of them specifically, it's going to depend on the development of Xavier Wampa and TJ Hall and Deshaun Lee. What kind of big steps can those guys take in their final years on campus? Especially Xavier Wampa. Like, the dude has all the physical ability in the world. And, he just needs to put it together as a whole. So I'm okay with 4th. To me, I don't know that as of this second that we know for sure that there's that top end talent, a guy that's going to be a first, second, third round draft pick. But as a whole, the position group is solid. They have experience. They've also had issues, but they have experience. I think TJ Hall and actually Xavier Wampa do actually have fairly high upsides. We'll see what Cohen Entringer can do as well. So, and then there's no ranking for special teams, but I think Iowa would rank top 3 in special teams as well if you take into account kicker, punter, and return man. Positional unit rankings, Iowa comes in at 6th. Again, the lowest number wins, because that means that you're top 3 at every positional group. Penn State and Ohio State are tied with 13 points. Oregon is 23rd, Michigan 41st, Illinois 43rd, with 43 points, they're 4th. Indiana with 45 points, they're 5th, and Iowa is 6th with 48 points. Washington 7th with 58. Nebraska 8th with 62. USC 9th with 68, Minnesota 10th with 76. So it's basically, the top 3, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State. Then you have the middle group, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and then separated by 10 points from there, you have Washington, Nebraska, USC, and then you have from there Minnesota and whoever, Wisconsin, Rutgers, so on and so on. So, all right, guys, that, like I said, I just wanted to do a quick video, and just based on how Athlon projects the Big Ten, they have Iowa finishing 7th, Illinois 6th, Indiana 5th, Michigan 4th, Oregon 3rd, Ohio State 2nd, Penn State 1st, so about the same. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think. I am still planning on doing a positional breakdown for each position group or close to it as the season draws near. And of course, be on the lookout for that. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy, Willow. In fact, our feelings, because your feelings just matter. Love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.